Cathy, welcome to the Visionary Life podcast. You are the partnerships manager for NoIssue. So thank you so much for representing this amazing brand that I've had a chance to collaborate with. And I'm so excited to chat with you. So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me, Kelsey. I am excited to share some more.
And you mentioned that this is your first podcast that you've been featured on as the partnerships manager, right?
It is. That's correct. So everyone bear with me. I'll do my best to be, concise and coherent. So just
You will be awesome. And you know what? We have a lot of aspiring and early stage entrepreneurs that listen to this show. So I think it's nice to just be able to connect with someone who has not recorded a million podcasts and is not like a famous public speaker who has everything together. So it's great to be able to chat and press record while we do it.
Awesome. Yeah, let's do it.
Let's start with some quick fire questions just because I want to get to know you as a person before we dive into NoIssue. So where did you grow up and where are you located right now?
Yeah, great question. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, and I currently reside for about the past 4, almost 5 years at this point, far from home on the West Coast in Santa Barbara, California. So for those of you not familiar, a little bit north of LA.
Cool. And what inspired the move?
Yeah, a lot of things. Originally, I had moved with my partner and I had moved to the LA area. At the time, I'd never even heard of Santa Barbara, visited the area for a weekend and fell in absolute love, kind of moved up here on a whim to see how things would work out. And almost 5 years later, still here. So super grateful to have found what I consider to be the ideal place to live. So
that's so awesome. And I love hearing stories of people who are ready to explore living elsewhere from the place they were born, right? I think it's such an awesome opportunity to really imagine your life and how you want to live and then find a location that really supports that. So
yeah, absolutely. It's been quite a change. I grew up in Tennessee, went to school in Tennessee, had spent a good bit of my life there, and then kind of went for it. And it's been an awesome experience for sure.
Do you remember what your very first job was?
I do. It's very glamorous. I was a concession stand worker at a local movie theater that was quite close to my house. So spent a lot of nights smelling like popcorn.
Yeah, that smell probably like never goes away from your hair and the clothes you're wearing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, nothing like just filling up trash bags of popcorn to be stored for the busy nights on the weekend. It was a lot of fun.
Oh my goodness. That's awesome. And what is one daily routine or ritual that, as someone who I'm sure has a lot going on in their life, what ritual can you not go a day without?
It's funny. I was trying to think of something that I literally do every day. And one of the things that stood out to me, which might be cliche, is morning coffee. We're big coffee drinkers, and what's been cool, I guess silver lining with the current situation, we've had time for slower coffee mornings. So, grinding fresh beans every morning, taking the time to do pour over and having it become kind of more of a ritual that you look forward to rather than just like slugging coffee to go out of a to-go cup or something like that. So definitely something that when I look back over what happens every day, it always starts with a cup of coffee. So yeah.
You're going to laugh, but I would say about 75% of people who I ask that question to, I don't ask it to everybody, but 75% of people say, well, it's usually just, and I'm like, I would say the same thing.
Well, yeah, it's like, there's some things that I do pretty regularly, but as far as something that's, ironclad every morning, I know I'm going to have a cup of coffee. So
one of the greatest joys, right?
I know, isn't it?
So now, what were you up to in the years leading up to before you joined NoIssue? Like, what career path were you on? What industry were you working on? Give us a little bit of your backstory.
Totally. Yeah. So I went to school for communications and journalism. So I always joke that I graduated and it was like, what now? It's such a broad major, such a broad field. But it's been great in that it's opened a lot of opportunities for me and given me a lot of freedom to explore what I want out of a career rather than locking into something right away. So my background is pretty diverse. My first job out of college was in market research, which is a glorified way of saying that I categorized data. And then from there, I guess most recently, I was working for a natural snack food brand here in Santa Barbara as the key accounts and brand manager. Prior to that, I was working in sales ops and corporate sales for an outdoor clothing company. So definitely have jumped around to a few different industries. But yeah, I was really fortunate in my last role because that's what ended up leading me to NoIssue. We used the packaging products with the brand that I was at previously. So it introed me to the brand, kind of got me hooked. Yeah, it was a great company, really fun role there, super creative. So it kind of queued me up perfectly to step into my current role at NoIssue.
That's so, so cool. And I love that you were initially, I guess your company was a client of NoIssue.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you found out about it. I think that's very
Exactly.
serendipitous. So for somebody who has never heard of NoIssue before, they're like, what do they keep mentioning? What is
Mm-hmm.
this? Could you give us the lowdown on what NoIssue is, how it began, and kind of where you guys are at today?
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, NoIssue is a platform that offers sustainable and customizable packaging to makers, to brands, and to businesses of all sizes. So our origin story is quite cool, actually. Our two founders had originally teamed up to start a sustainable eyewear brand made from waste materials. So as they were going through that process, they started looking to source, they had in mind, they wanted sustainable packaging, obviously, but they wanted it to be really beautifully branded and on brand to kind of complete that whole experience. They couldn't find anything that would suit their needs within their price point, within, the order quantities that they were looking for. So they made their own. And then, long story short, essentially all their retailers were just as interested in the packaging as the sunglasses. So from there, they kind of took a step back, looked at that, and realized there weren't a lot of options out there for small businesses looking to source, the sustainable, customizable packaging. So they took off on that venture, launched NoIssue Tissue, which is, customizable, sustainable tissue. And since then have rolled out a number of other products, but kind of the tenets of the business have always stayed the same in that we're going to offer the most sustainable options that we can, the most customizable options that we can, and then stay as accessible as possible for small businesses. So what that accessibility means to us is offering lower MOQs and price points than you would traditionally see, and then also ensuring that we offer global free shipping. So yeah, just trying to be a solution for these small businesses that might not need 10,000 sheets of tissue paper. They might just need 250 to get going. And they still want to offer that really quality branded experience to their customers. So just looking to be a solution for those brands. And we're now offering beyond the tissue tape and stickers and mailers, custom stamps, which are really fun. And then most recently, custom cards as well.
So cool. I had no idea that the origin story started as an eyewear company. And then really it was them seeing that there was, I guess, a gap in the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not being able to find that really accessible packaging solution that they were looking for. And I think,
Exactly.
isn't that how every great business starts?
Mm-hmm.
By going, well, this doesn't exist, so why don't I create it, or why don't I bring it to life?
Totally.
So it's kind of neat that as they went down the path of thinking they were going to launch one business, it naturally just veered courses. And that is so common. And I think
Totally.
a lot of people who listen to this podcast, they're kind of sitting in that paralyzed state of like, well, I don't know what to do. And they do nothing at all.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes our best ideas actually come when we just jump on an idea, start following it through, and then,
Totally.
figuring it out from there, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think that courage to recognize like, oh, maybe this first idea that I started out with doesn't have to be what you stick to, and maybe that can evolve into something else. So yeah, I definitely think it's such an inspiring story, and that a lot of times if you get started in one route, it might be you don't want to shift routes, or it might be embarrassing if you've been putting effort into something else, or feel like wasted time. But I just think it's so cool that things can evolve into something so wonderful. So
Absolutely. And you kind of mentioned that NoIssue speaks to a lot of small to medium-sized businesses, makers, and creatives. So is that who generally is using the products and services of NoIssue? Describe that ideal kind of customer.
yeah, absolutely. So yes, small businesses and makers and marketplace merchants, creatives, hand makers, those are definitely the focus of our business. That's who NoIssue is built for. That's who we're going to continue to prioritize throughout everything we do. So just an example of some different, I guess who we would say is the definition of a NoIssue. customer would be a jewelry maker that sells her products on Etsy and then also has her own e-commerce shop as well. So in most cases, there's only 1 or 2 team members. A lot of them are hand making their products, packaging and shipping themselves, running things out of their homes. So that's, I would say, who our key customer is. And then also, they also have a really close connection to their brand. So they want to have their customers have that continued experience and know that it's coming from someone who's putting a lot of thought and intention into every purchase. So that's why I think our product resonates so well with our audience and our community, and that we're just allowing them to really take their beautiful designs, their beautiful branding, put it on, our products. They do the hard part, and then help bring that to life. So just a continuation kind of their story and experience.
It's so cool because I think packaging is something that often goes overlooked when you're first starting a business. You're like, okay, like made the awesome product and I finally got my website and my social media. And then it kind of stops at the sale. Like you sell it and then you just like forget about what happens from there. But when you start to really like dive into that brand experience that you want to have from start to finish, and you imagine somebody receiving your product, they've waited a week for it. And then like, if the unboxing experience is terrible, or if the packaging is not visually appealing, you're missing out on a huge opportunity to surprise and delight your customer and to really keep them engaged with your brand. And I love that you said, in our pre-chat before we started recording, that packaging is normally boring. Like I've never really thought about that, but there's such a simple way to differentiate your brand, and that's to make the packaging amazing. So like, has packaging always excited you like this, or?
No. And it's so funny because especially when I, first meet someone or they ask what I do for work and I say, work, for a packaging company. And most people, the conversation would stop there, but I'm like, no, it's amazing. Like, look at the Instagram. And I think things like that really speak for itself. Like, to have an Instagram that's full of exciting packaging and customers and people wanting to, and the brands wanting to talk about and share that experience. It's definitely unique. I cannot say I've always been excited by packaging, but really now that I have a different mindset on it and that it's just the opportunity to further connect with your customer. I mean, it's quite a rare instance in the whole customer purchasing engagement and experience to have that one-on-one reserved time where it's just you and your customer. Their focus is on your product, and just really thinking of packaging as a way to elevate and further connect. I think, like you said, it often goes overlooked, but now that I think about it that way, everything I receive or look at, I'm always evaluating, like, what is the experience of opening this? And it definitely changes your mindset and is something that it's normal to be invisible to, but once you start thinking about it in that sense that it's just an opportunity to further connect, it kind of changes everything.
Such an opportunity. And it's almost like a 2.0 secret strategy of like the people who have kind of gotten through that foundational piece of launching their business. It's like, now do you want to deepen the relationship with your customer? Like, make your brand more Instagrammable? Like, this is what you should be doing, right? Because I know when I receive a great unboxing experience, what's the first thing I do? I take out my phone and I turn on Instagram and I'm like, wow, this brand, like, look at this package, look at the stickers they included, look at the cute tagline on the box or the bag. And like, I share it forward almost immediately. Think about how much extra exposure then the brand gets. Just by such a simple shift.
And totally. And also kind of the loyalty that you're building into your customers, that they have that higher excitement level, obviously paired with a great product within the packaging. But just really elevating that loyalty, that excitement over it as well. And then, like you said, the whole nature of the unboxing experience and something being Instagrammable just lends itself to more exposure for your brand and more awareness. Obviously, there's such a rise in the influencer space and all these things, but it's also thinking that pretty much everyone functions as their own micro influencer, and that their community and their following, whether small, is going to be really excited to see what they're putting out there. And if you're having a great experience with a brand and you share that and friends see it, I think that carries a lot of weight as far as influence.
Yeah, and one of the things that I talk about with a lot of my clients and students inside of our business coaching program is experiential marketing. Like, how
Mhm.
are you bringing your services or your brand to life? Because just by constantly like talking at somebody through Instagram stories or writing an
Mhm.
amazing website sales page, like we don't connect with that. We connect oftentimes with physical products or
Mhm.
with physical human beings, right? And
Exactly.
I just think if you can't show up and hand deliver your service or product to
Mhm.
someone, the next best thing is to have a touchable element that
Mhm.
really conveys the essence of your brand. So this like totally
Absolutely.
excites me. And I was actually just on the website this morning. I put in an
Mhm.
order for some stickers.
Oh, nice.
And so the whole experience literally took me 20
Mhm.
minutes. It was so simple. Could you actually like explain if somebody wants to grab their own tissue paper or they want to
Mhm.
make stickers or they want custom mailers? Can you just walk us through kind of what that process from the moment you log onto the site to the point you check out? What would that
Yeah.
look like? How much work is involved here?
Yeah. So if you're coming on our site, our whole goal, obviously going back to the community that we're servicing, which is small business owners who don't have tons of time to go back and forth with a packaging company to land on proofs, to land on pricing, to overcome quantities, things like that. So our goal is how can we make this as easy and as enjoyable as possible in an industry that usually is quite cumbersome and labor intensive. So our whole experience functions basically as an e-commerce business. So you come on, we have a design platform right on site. You can either just straight upload a design, or you can do some design arranging on the site itself. Basically, you just select your quantities. If it's stickers, you select your shape, your size, add to cart, process and order, and should be on your doorstep within 3 weeks. So our whole process is just set around being really streamlined, taking into consideration that most of the time it's a 1 or 2 person team going through the process. So trying to minimize the number of steps needed. Obviously, we have a great support team on hand if you run into any issues, but the thought is that someone should be able to pop on there, go through the process in a few minutes, and save a lot of time in the process as well.
Mhm. And I think one of the important things to note is that you can buy smaller quantities, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
grabbed 250 stickers because I didn't want 6,000, which some of these, like,
Exactly.
I don't know, more mass companies, they'd say, well, you need a 10,000 minimum. And it's like, but I don't need 10,000 stickers. I
And
live
where
in
am I going to put
an
all those
apartment.
in my, yeah, just stacks and stacks of tissue paper. Yeah, it's funny that's kind of where the expectation of the packaging branding tool industry is. But a lot of times they are working with those larger brands, so it makes sense to go for quantity. But yeah, that's exactly kind of how we pivoted to support the small businesses. It's like they don't need those quantities, and once they, obviously we do offer higher quantities as well. So if our companies can kind of grow up with us as well if they, grow in size, and we can facilitate that as well. But we also just want them to have access to it no matter what size you are or where you're at kind of in your business journey.
Mhm. And do you guys offer like design support? Like, say I'm not that creative and I don't
Mm-hmm.
have design skills, but I still want to order stickers or I
Great
want to order
question.
mailers.
Yes, so something that we're working on building out, which is growing quite rapidly, is our creative community. So we have, which you can see their profiles right on our site, we do have a built out community of designers, illustrators, artists, pretty much anyone who falls under a creative bucket and category. So we also kind of can facilitate those interactions on site if you'd like to hire out someone to do your design work for you, or also, recognizing you're a business owner, but you don't have a whole design team or marketing team on staff. So just really working to have those creatives accessible to our customers as well, who would, like to have something beautiful and custom made for them. So they can get design support there as well.
Amazing. So good to know. And I'll link the website for anyone who's trying to figure out how they can get started quickly. If
Mm-hmm.
there's no issue, I'll link the website in the show notes. And I would also encourage people to go check out your Instagram page because it can kind of like get the design wheels turning. And there's a lot of fun examples in the
Definitely.
Instagram feed. And that might inspire a business owner who's listening to just take that next
Mm-hmm.
step and to actually just go think of the coolest stickers or coolest tissue paper that you could possibly think of for your brand, and then bring it to life. It's not hard, and it is truly a remarkable experience for your customer. So
agreed.
I'll be in the show notes.
And yeah, the Instagram is really cool as well. I mean, obviously all kudos and credit goes to our customers because they come up with not just the creative, beautiful designs, but also unique use cases and different ways that people are using things like tissue paper and how they wrap certain products and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely a great source of inspiration, not just for our customers, but for us as a team, and kind of looking at just the amazing and unique ways that people are bringing the products to life. So yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out because it's quite inspiring.
Cool. Now, I'm wondering, for you, acting as the partnerships manager, what does a day in the life look like in your world managing partnerships for NoIssue?
Yeah, so my days all look quite different, which is awesome. Managing and facilitating a lot of different conversations. So for us, partnerships, we kind of look at it through two different lenses. So we want to bring added value to our existing customers through getting them, fresh insight, fresh content, and different expertise than just built everything around packaging. So we have a really great blog where we lean heavily on our partners to weigh in with industry expert and expert advice pieces, as we call them, so that we can really function as a small business resource hub. So that's a lot of the conversations that I'm having is sourcing content, finding relevant partners that are also in different ways working to support a small business community as well. So a lot of that is relationship building, hopping on a lot of calls, a lot of video chats, things like that. And then externally, we supply content and different value offerings and put on giveaways and things like that with our partners. So it's a great role in that there's a lot of creativity as far as defining what a partnership opportunity looks like, because it looks different for every conversation that we have. What's great is that we are a global team. So being in North America, I'm generally online. I'm one of the first online. So I have a couple hours for deep work, for, external calls, that type of stuff early morning through kind of the afternoon. And then the team starts to trickle online. So my afternoons are generally more internal, team conversations, strategy meetings, things like that. So a lot of diversity and creativity in my days for sure.
So cool. Such an exciting job you have. I'm sure there are challenges to it. Yeah. A really great role. And I love the place for partnerships in growing a business. Because I always think, as small business owners, we could be trying to constantly get out there and put out ads and all that stuff. But what if our partners or people who also believed in our brand could be out there sharing our business while we're at home working on other projects, right? Like the greatest form of marketing is when your customers and partners do it for you. And I think it goes often neglected, right? We all think I have to do this alone, but partnerships are truly one of the most magical ways to accelerate your business's growth.
Totally. I completely agree. And I think it feels very authentic too, as well. If there's a company out there, like for example, we work with a great partner that helps small businesses become carbon neutral. So it's obviously a natural fit for us to be partnering with them. We're also providing a really relevant resource to their customers, and then in return can educate, our customer base who are also thinking about sustainability on other things they could be doing. So I think, yeah, obviously it gets you more exposure, which is amazing from, like-minded partners. So yeah, definitely all assist with the growth and bringing, like I said, yeah, added value to our existing customers too. So there's a lot going on in this space, but definitely a really exciting and valuable one.
Awesome. Is there a certain skill that you are currently focused on up-leveling in order to take your partnerships within NoIssue to the next level?
I guess this would qualify as a skill, but I've been really working on honing my strategic and kind of long-term thinking. So I'm the first person to sit in this role, which is really exciting, but it's super important to be thinking, knowing where NoIssue is headed is what we're doing on the day-to-day and the processes and the systems that we're setting up. How is that going to work long-term? So definitely trying to think big picture while not losing sight of the day-to-day, obviously. But yeah, just being really intentional about what we're building now, the relationships that we're building, things like that, because it all yeah, is obviously important based on where we're headed. So that strategy thinking, and making sure, yeah, that what we're doing now kind of aligns with what's going to happen in the future.
That is definitely something I struggle with too. I'm
Yeah.
like so good at the day to day, but yeah, to make sure that what you
Exactly.
create today has some longevity to it and it supports the greater vision is like a
Exactly.
whole different headspace for
Mhm.
me.
And, it's so bad, it's like so gratifying to cross things off your to-do list and kind of
Yeah.
stay focused on, because I'm sure you're the same. There's a lot of those little things that need to do to keep things moving, but then also keeping in mind, yeah, how all of this shapes where we're growing. So yeah, definitely a challenge, but it's fun and trying to adapt my thinking into that way.
hmm Now you've kind of mentioned like the bigger vision of NoIssue, but looking back, I know you haven't been with the company forever, but
Mhm.
are you aware of any major milestone that NoIssue celebrated that they were really proud of, or maybe
Yeah,
part of
yeah,
it?
yeah. Absolutely. So a recent one for us, a lot of our milestones and metrics that we get excited about are community based. So we recently, which now we've quite surpassed that, but we recently hit 150,000 followers on Instagram,
Wow.
which was just such a tangible way to be like, wow. And this community that we're growing in this, like, yeah, kind of global presence is happening, and just quite validating to see the number of people that are getting excited, the number of businesses that we're supporting. So we definitely look at our community milestones like that just as an exciting thing to kind of take a step back from, and realizing what that means if 150,000 people are engaging and excited about what's going on. So I think that, yeah, kind of speaks to
hmm
the community growth.
Yeah, that's huge. And I think like so much as Instagram metrics can be very vanity promoting,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah, who cares what number? But when you imagine that many people kind of
Mm-hmm.
rallying around your team members and saying, we believe in what you're doing, whether that's 200 people or 150,000 people, it
Exactly.
is something to be celebrated because that is no easy task, even to get one person
Yeah.
to care,
Oh, I
right?
know. Exactly.
Yeah. Amazing. A couple of quick business questions for you
Mhm.
because you've obviously had a great career path and
Mhm.
are leading a wonderful role here as the partnerships manager. So I'm wondering, is there a tool or an object that you could not run your position without?
There's a lot of things. But right now, I would say something that's emerged as very important to this role, and kind of also how I function personally, is communication tools. So whether that's things that we use internally, obviously our team members are located all over the world. So
Yeah.
whether it's, like things like Slack, where we can just stay in real-time communication, or externally video chats. I think especially in
Mm,
this space where you're trying to build relationships, like you said, just humanizing not just the company, but also the relationship. So I've found, as kind of cheesy as it sounds, one silver lining, I think, of the whole, in the wake of the pandemic, is that video chats are normalized now. So I
yeah.
lean really heavy on that with our partnership conversations. And I think that it just creates a familial feel that you can't quite achieve over the phone. So I guess that would count as a tool that I lean on. But yeah, just strong communication tools.
Definitely. Have you hit your burnout point with video chats yet? I feel like pandemic, it's like Zoom call, Zoom call, Zoom call.
Yeah, maybe it's coming, but for me, I find it more engaging than just talking on the phone, because I would be doing a lot of audio calls anyway. So I actually find that it's more energizing for me to be having a face-to-face conversation. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm a rarity in that sense, but especially, working from home, it's nice to see some other faces. So for me personally,
Absolutely.
it's been a great tool. Obviously, I'm sure if it was just back to back all day, I'm sure you do hit a burnout point.
Mhm.
But from where I'm sitting at the moment, I find it quite energizing.
Awesome. And you mentioned, I just want to circle back, you said the team is located all over the world. So
Mhm.
have you met any of your teammates in person?
I have not yet, considering that
Wow.
I just started back in February. So
Yeah.
like feels like a lifetime based on everything that's happened since then. But it is quite bizarre to think, especially because we, chat all the time. I so look forward to the day where I can travel to our headquarters in New Zealand and meet the
It's in
team in
New
person.
Zealand? I didn't know
Yes.
that. That's
Yeah. So that,
crazy.
we were founded in New Zealand. So a good bit of our team sits there.
Cool.
So yeah, I am just waiting for the day we can go back in there and I can meet the team in person.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's not a bad place to travel. I've never been, but I think that would make for a great.
I haven't either. So hopefully soon.
Now, last question for somebody who's kind of on the fence. They're a small business owner. They've got an Etsy shop. They send out whatever jewelry or handmade trinkets, and they're kind of on the fence about investing with NoIssue because it's not an expense. It's an investment in your brand, right? What would be something you would tell them to kind of encourage them to take a try with NoIssue products and getting their branding on some of your packaging products? Like why should they go with NoIssue?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I would just say, obviously people prioritize their online and website experience, whether that be the high level photos, good descriptions of your products, things like that. So I would just encourage people to think about, like we were chatting about earlier, your packaging as a continuation of your brand experience. So just think about how you would invest time in what you're building out online, and then just consider translating that into the tangible experience. Also, like we've touched on, we have super low order minimum quantities. So it's a pretty low risk in that you can order as few as 25 sheets of tissue, see if you see an uptick in engagement on social or good feedback around the experience. I mean, if it's just something that you think will spark a little bit of joy in your customer and connect them a bit more with their brand. So yeah, I would just encourage people to think about it as an opportunity to further their brand experience, and to give it a go because it's really fun.
So cool. Yeah. And it's definitely something that's just not often talked about. So I'm really excited to have been able to speak with you today, Cathy. This has been awesome. You're definitely giving us a lot to think about in how we continue on that experience with our customers. And I can say with certainty that all of the products that I've received from you guys have been amazing. I cannot wait to get my custom stickers in a few weeks.
So exciting.
And I just love what you guys are doing and helping make marketing fun and accessible to small and medium-sized businesses and creatives and all the people with wonderful products and services. So thank you so much for being featured today. I wish you all the best, and I will link all of the places to find NoIssue, as well as an exclusive code that you guys have generously provided in the show notes. So I would encourage everyone to go check it out. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for having me. It was a pleasure sharing some more, and yeah, thanks so much.